Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ordinary meeting for the 14th of November 2022. Mr. Keasley, do we have any apologies for today?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we have one. Councillor Garrard has an apology for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Item 1.2, acknowledgement of traditional owners of the land. Council acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pays our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, while also recognising their deep and continuing connections to climate, culture and country. We also pay our respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and their elders and acknowledge their journey. Item 1.3, offering of prayer, reflection or affirmation. As part of Council's commitment to recognising the cultural and spiritual diversity of our community, the prayer, reflection or affirmation this evening will be offered by Mr Shamim Navidi from the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is, Greater Dandenong, a member of the Greater Dandenong Interfaith Network. Please stand.
O God, my God, cast upon this gathering the glances of thy loving kindness. Keep safe each and all in thy custody and under thy protection. Send down upon these souls thy heavenly blessings. Immerse them in the ocean of thy mercy and quicken them through the breaths of the Holy Spirit. O Lord, bestow thy gracious aid and confirmation upon this just government. This country lieth beneath the sheltering shadow of thy protection, and this people is in thy service. O Lord, confer upon them thy heavenly bounty and render the outpourings of thy grace and favour copious and abundant. Suffer this esteemed nation to be held in honour and enable it to be admitted into thy kingdom. Thou art the powerful, the omnipotent, the merciful, and thou art the generous, the beneficent, the Lord of grace abounding. Abdul Baha.
Thank you, Mr Navidi. Item 1.4, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting of Council held 24th of October 2022. Is there a mover for this?
I'll move it.
Second that. Moved by Councillor Milkovich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 1.5, disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest, Mr Keasley?
Three men. There are none tonight.
Thank you. Item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1. Item 2.1, Documents for Sealing. 2.1.1, Documents for Sealing. Is there a mover?
A move.
Councillor Long, seconded by Councillor Trum. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried.
Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you. I just wish to congratulate Ian Daniels from Infrastructure for 40 years of service to the municipality, 40 years being a phenomenal achievement, and also to Darren Wilson from Sydney Planning Many for 20 years.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Item 2.2, documents for tabling. 2.2.1, documents for tabling. Is there a mover? Moved by Deputy Mayor Councillor Formoso, seconded by Councillor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 2.2.2, petitions and joint letters. Is there moved by Councillor Trung, seconded by Councillor O'Reilly? Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 2.3, statutory planning applications. 2.3.1, town planning application number 143, Springvale Road, Springvale. Planning application number PLN 22/0138. Is there a mover for this? Moved by Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Lim. Are there any questions? Councillor Long.
In the drawings on page 56, especially the south and north boundaries, I see that there's fairly large windows. Are they awning windows or sliding windows? They're oblique at a certain depth, but if they're only sliding windows, that oblique window's no good.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Long. Mr Jackson.
Through you, Mayor, all of the windows on the upper floor that have the potential for overlooking will need to be hinged to a certain point so that views cannot be achieved through there, so they won't be sliding windows. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? Okay, as there's no opposition, I declare this item carried.
Mayor?
Oh, yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mayor. If I could just say something on this application.
Of course.
There was a number of objections to this application. They were recorded by council officers and responded to on page 35 and 36 of the agenda. All those points made by objectors were taken into account, and the officers have responded to the application, including the objections with the conditions seen further on in that part of the council agenda. So I think, in summary, the application with the conditions meets planning code, and that's why council has approved it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Item 3, question time public. Mr Keasley.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 9 questions tonight. The first one is from Fiona Viong of Springvale South. She wishes the question to be read out. Last year there was a community consultation on a biodiversity action plan for Greater Dandenong. When is the finished plan going to be put on the Greater Dandenong website? Mr Chinkarana, please.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Mr Chinkarana.
Thank you, Mayor. The draft Biodiversity Action Plan was recently been completed, and it's incorporated all of the feedback from the community consultation process. The document is scheduled to be presented to Council at a briefing of councils on the 5th of December. Normally then an ordinary council meeting report would be finalised and referred to the next available meeting. That next available meeting is likely to be the first meeting in January 2023. Following adoption at that meeting, we can then put the Biodiversity Action Plan on the council website.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Mr Keasley.
Thank you. The next question is from Nina Kelly of Keysborough. The question is titled Flash Flooding Concerns Keysborough. Can Council please confirm the stakeholder plan to resolve the reoccurring flash flooding occurring on Keysborough South Shopping Centre, Braeside and Dandenong Road? This flash flooding is impacting inclusive accessibility to the PTV bus stop, to access the medical centre and the general shopping centre. The exit out of the shopping centre near the petrol station has been covered in centimetres of water for weeks. The construction of this site is only a few years old and clearly highlights poor planning of stormwater management. Planning modelling doesn't appear to have been considered a 1 to 25-year rain event. The community is aware that the issue is rather complex, considering the land is privately owned, borders a Melbourne water retarding basin and has multiple other stakeholders including PTV, the Department of Transport and Council. Mr Chinkarana, please.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Mr Chinkarana.
Thank you, Mayor. This issue is indeed complex and there are many stakeholders involved. Hutton Road itself is a Department of Transport road, and all the pits and pipes along that southern edge of the Keysborough South Shopping Centre are owned and managed by that department. These, along with private pits within the car park entrance, all discharge into the Melbourne Water Retarding Basin, which is located just east of the shopping centre. The retarding basin is part of a much larger drainage network that's managed by Melbourne Water, and that controls stormwater throughout the greater Keysborough area. Council officers have been in touch with Melbourne Water to address the flooding concern at this location, and Melbourne Water acknowledges that the amount of rainfall received this year has pushed their assets beyond the capacity, resulting in this localised flooding. However, there are ongoing maintenance works that have been planned by Melbourne Water over the coming weeks, and it's hoped that that will address the flooding at this location.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Mr Keasley.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question is from Joshua Kaloki from Keysborough. The question, there are a number of them. Do we have a dashboard, in brackets interactive would be best, in brackets where we can look at and track the progress of the Greater Dandenong Sustainability Strategy 2016 to 2030? My buddies in the City of Casey were showing off their Smart City Open Data Portal and the dashboards that they have been able to access to see how various goals and themes are being tracked. I am mainly interested in knowing the progress on these themes from the executive summary, and he references page 5. The theme 1, Transport and Movement Goal, a well-connected city. Theme 2, Climate and Energy Goal, a low-carbon city. And theme 3, Buildings and Places Goal, a city planned for the future. I'm happy to receive a response via email with a link to the Open Data Portal if there is one, and as a resident data scientist would appreciate being involved in the digitisation efforts of my council. Thank you. Mr Jackson.
Thank you, Mr Keasley. Mr Jackson.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Joshua, and also your interest in the sustainability strategy. Due to the impacts of COVID and the availability of data during that period, that had prevented officers from completing the annual sustainability reports for the last few years. However, I'm pleased to say that these reports have now been completed and they'll be presented to Council for endorsement at the 12th of December 2022 Council meeting. Within these reports, you will find the information regarding the themes you're most interested in. With regards to the interactive portal, Council previously had an interactive website to communicate this information. However, engagement and visitation levels were consistently very low, and as such, the choice was made to revert to a static annual documents, which has seen much greater uptake. With regards to a dashboard moving forward, this may be possible if there's demonstrated need within the community and also subject to future funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Mr Keasley.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question is from Gay Guest from Keysborough. There are a number of points within the one question. What is Council going to do now that RedCycle has stopped collecting soft plastic? Will they go into another stream like Kirby? Will they allow all council departments to consult with one another to find a collaborative solution as our streets will become more littered, as bins blow over in the windy conditions and soft plastic once again clogs our drains and waterways? And will Council lobby residents, other government bodies, manufacturers and retailers, for instance, to insist on more sustainable packaging now that everyone has once again been caught out with ineffective governance over sustainability issues? This is a ubiquitous conundrum that needs to be highlighted and acted upon before we go into the Christmas hiatus, when excess packaging will be in epic proportions and add to our dilemma. Mr Chinkarana, please.
Mr Chinkarana.
Thank you, Mayor. There's likely to be very minimal impact on Council's recycling operations from the closure of RedCycle, as we've had no existing involvement with them, and we still receive a significant portion of single-use plastics now curbside stream on a daily basis. So while soft plastic recycling is an important part of recycling in general, the state government's priorities for local government at this point have been most strongly focused around food and garden organics, glass recycling and the container deposit scheme coming up. RedCycle was a key in the recycling of soft plastics, but they worked with the private sector, in particular the large generators of these plastics, such as the supermarkets, and with the view to providing a viable recycling option in that space. Now, whilst the Kirby program is a great initiative, it is problematic for us to introduce because it's likely to cause issues with our own current recycling contract in the way that we collect. They're not set up to receive that scheme as a way of recycling soft plastics.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question is also from Gay Guest from Keysborough. Why is Council allowing a synthetic playing surface on the soccer pitch at Ross Reserve when councillors who purport to be sports active-minded and followers of sport would know that a synthetic surface will only create personal injuries and will only support low-grade teams as professionals refuse to play on these superficial planes? Why do these councillors and our sustainability team not question the use of artificial surfaces on our playing fields? Residents do not thank the Revitalisation Board for such an oversight, given it is close to a volatile creek system and the synthetic fibres will end up in our fragile ecosystems. The ground is being prepared now and adequate drainage could be installed so that it could and should be resurfaced with natural grass to enhance what open space we have left in Ross Reserve. Synthetic grass is more expensive to install, it can let off gases, leads to health issues and isn't biodegradable. The disadvantage is that it will not last for the same time as natural grass will. It can get hot in extreme heat, adding to climate change, and reduces the biodiversity of open space as it is made of plastic and so is not a natural material that wildlife can live in. We all hope the new council regime will become more diligent towards environmental matters and advocate for better conditions than more plastic services in the City of Greater Dandenong, which is in new council documents. Mr Forster, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your question, Gay, regarding the synthetic sports ground under construction at Ross Reserve. Synthetic sporting grounds have evolved significantly and now provide substantial benefits to community sport. Their aim is simply to provide more opportunities for communities to play sport, as they can provide increased additional playing hours or carrying capacity compared to a natural turf sporting ground. Early versions of synthetic surfaces experienced drawbacks including issues with playability, player safety and heat capture, but over the past decade an increase in sophistication of synthetic turf has been driven by the International Federation of Association Football's performance standards focused on duplicating the playability of natural turf while incorporating the durability needed for community playing capacity and climate challenges. The result is that synthetic grounds are now being embraced by both community teams and elite programs, including both in Australia and globally. The project at Ross Reserve is fully supported by Football Victoria and Sport and Recreation Victoria. As part of the delivery of the new synthetic soccer field, Council is also enhancing the landscaping around the new field by providing additional plantings, which will increase biodiversity and canopy cover at the reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question is also from Gay Guest from Keysborough. Why has Council allowed 220 Chapel Road to be built to the perimeter of the block with concrete walls like an industrial estate for dwellings when it was argued for individual townhouses and apartments on top of 6 shops, not 13 shops? In Council's own documents, it professes to protect planning scheme and policy framework, zoning controls, and the list goes on. Clause 15 states built environment and heritage to create urban environments that are safe, healthy, functional and enjoyable, and that contribute to a sense of place and cultural identity. To achieve building design outcomes that contribute positively to the local context and enhance the public realm. To recognise, support and protect neighbourhood character, cultural identity and a sense of space. To encourage land use and development that is energy and resource efficient, supports a cooler environment and minimises greenhouse gas emissions, or all that is contained in Clause 21.05-1, Urban Design Character, Streetscapes and Landscapes. Yet 220 Chapel is another blight on the City of Greater Dandenong and its local neighbourhood. Will it be a case of residents stepping in again to highlight the shortfalls and dangers like 452 Cheltenham Road? Under a new regime, can residents expect moving forward better outcomes from our highly paid councillors and staff who will enforce council policies and procedures, or will be subject to the same silence on all matters to do with planning with the same unfounded dialogue every council meeting and always moved by the same councillors. Mr Jackson, please.
Mr Jackson, thank you.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Gay. The development of 220 Chapel Road, Keysborough, has 13 shops on the ground level with residential development above and is located within a commercial 1 zone. The buildings will be finished with a mix of materials including brickwork, glass, metal cladding and painted concrete. These finishes have not yet been applied due to the initial stage of construction. As those who were involved at the time will recall, significant consideration was given to the proposed uses and built form outcome, including significant negotiation at BCAP. The resultant outcome was determined to be appropriate for the site in terms of setbacks from Chapel Road and Hutton Road, given the commercial zoning of the land and it being a gateway entry to the Chapel Road precinct. The only section of the development to be located on the boundary are the commercial tenancies and the associated canopies, which is not unusual in and around metropolitan Melbourne. In addition, the development has been sited to avoid the removal of trees located to the northern residential interface and the western interface, and is also required to provide landscaping and planting along these boundaries. Again, it is important to note that the development is not fully constructed and once complete will provide an outcome that accords with the planning scheme and in particular the commercial zoning of the land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question is from Pam Naylor from Noble Park. Her question is, when is the notice of motion that Councillor Rhonda Garrard moved a couple of months back regarding a report on the structure and resourcing levels of environmental staff in council going to come back to a council meeting for decision? Mr Jackson, please.
Thank you, Mr Jackson.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you again for the question. In accordance with the notice of motion, council officers are continuing to pursue benchmarking information from other councils in relation to environmental and sustainability staffing resources. Once sufficient information is received to provide meaningful benchmarking, the information and recommendations will be presented to a councillor briefing session before being tabled in a council report. It is currently anticipated that a council report will be tabled at a meeting in early 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question is also from Pam Naylor from Noble Park. The question is, when is the general public engagement on the Greater Dandenong Climate Change Community Mobilisation Plan going to start, and when is it expected to be finalised? Mr Jackson, please.
Thank you, Mr Jackson.
Through you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the question. Our consultation with targeted groups has already commenced and will continue over the following months. However, broader community consultation to inform the development of the plan will begin in January 2023 and is expected to be completed in March 2023. The draft plan will be completed by the end of the financial year and will be presented to the public for public feedback to inform the final plan. It is also intended that a council report will be tabled at the 12th of December meeting to provide an update on the plan and future steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Mayor. The question again from Pam Naylor from Noble Park. Greater Dandenong Council has been promising for 2 years the return of the annual sustainability reporting. When is one finally going to be published? Mr Jackson.
Thank you, Mr Jackson.
Through you, Mayor. As mentioned in my previous response earlier, the availability of data has prevented officers being able to complete the annual sustainability reports for the last 2 years during the COVID period. Pleased to say that those reports have now been drafted and will be presented for Council's endorsement at the 12th of December Council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. We've received a question form completed or partially completed from a Robin Van Tilborg. I believe that was just earlier this evening. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information on it that doesn't satisfy our local law, and the question is more of a statement. However, I'd be happy to meet Robin after this particular meeting and have a chat if that's satisfactory. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Okay. And no further questions? No. Thank you. We move on to item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2. Item 4.1, Contracts. 4.1.1, Contract number 2223-02, Construction of a Playground at Frederick Wachter Reserve, Keysborough.
Move, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Dark.
Happy to second that.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions?
Thank you,
Yes,
Mayor.
Councillor Mikovic.
Yeah, just to relevant office, I've noticed in the report here that amongst the tenderers, only Warrendale Industries was verified and certified with Rapid Global, and the other ones weren't assessed at all. Is there any particular reason why they weren't assessed in the process, or is that standard? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Milkovic. For Craig, Mr. Chinkogera.
The assessment for that tends to be done with the successful, the highest scoring candidate.
Sorry.
And it would only be done if for those. Yeah, I suppose it's the point of Rapid Global is that it assesses them to a certain point already, and then we just double check that as part of the before the appointment process goes. So it's not a scoring. It's a they must comply or not comply.
Thank you, Mr. Chinkarana. Councillor
Thank you, Mayor.
Milkovic.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried.
Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Dark.
Thank you. And thank you to my fellow council colleagues for supporting this item. This is actually a very, very exciting time for the Keysborough Ward and for the Wachta Reserve. The stage 1 of the playground has been completed and has been finished, is actually being used. And Warrendale Industries were the same contractor that did stage 1, and they've done a phenomenal job. But they do have a very, very good track record, including the landscaping and the works that they've done with Ross Reserve. They've done exhibits, I think the Lemur exhibit at Melbourne Zoo, amongst other things. So they are well qualified for the works that they do. This will be I suppose very, very exciting and well needed for the residents of my ward and abutting Noble Park ward, particularly given the systemic delays of the boardwalk issue to do with the other contractor. So certainly I'm very, very excited to see the works begin and complete, and hopefully we'll have a boardwalk finished soon as well with some parts. So as a part of the continual master plan, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. I drive past there quite frequently, and then it is looking fantastic with lots of kids playing on the new playground. Item 4.2, Policy and Strategy. 4.2.1, Review of Council Policies, Risk Management Policy Update 2022. Is there a move? Moved by Councillor Dark, seconded by Councillor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.2.2, Review of Council Policies, Public Interest Disclosures Policy Update 2022. Moved by...
Happy to move that.
Moved by Councillor Mehmeti.
Her second.
Seconded by Councillor Milkovic. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.2.3, Quarter 1 2022 to 23, Council Quarterly Performance Report. Is there a mover? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Mehmeti, seconded by Councillor Trong. Are there any questions?
Yes, I do have a question, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tan.
Yes, so first a question just regarding to, this is on page 191, so with the quarterly performance report. So support of community projects to address and prevent family violence. So there's no action has been taken during this quarter. Why is that?
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Mr. Forster?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to the Family Violence Committee, I believe that's an internal organisational committee, so I'm unable to comment on the answer to this question. We'll have to take that on notice.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Forster. Any further questions, Councillor Tan? I think you might be on mute, Councillor Tan. Did you have any other questions?
Yes, one more question. Yep. So this one's on page 214. So it's about the Metro Content Waste Resource and Recovery Group. So it's basically it says we're still waiting for the tender until December 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Mr Kearsley.
Thank you, Councillor. What I can advise is that the South East Metro Group are still looking, as far as we are aware, to tender in early 2023. It is our intention to bring a report back to Council on waste alternatives and waste options to this Council in the new year, and we'll have more information on their option included in that Council report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Councillor Tan, any other questions?
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from other councillors? No. Is there any opposition to this item? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.3 Other. 4.3.1 Draft Minutes of Disability Advisory Committee Meeting 19th of September 2022. Moved by Councillor Mehmeti, seconded by Councillor Long. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.3.2 Draft Minutes of Multicultural and People Seeking Asylum Advisory Committee Meeting 4th of October 2022. Is there a mover for this item?
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Mehmeti, seconded by...
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Councillor Formoso. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.3.3 Appointment of Acting Chief Executive Officer.
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Mehmeti,
Happy to.
seconded by Councillor Long. Are there any questions?
I've got a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Milkovich.
Now, I've had regarding this agenda item, I had a question for one of the residents in regards to relevant officer, of course, in regards to the pay arrangements and the duration of the appointment of Mr Kearsley as acting CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Ms Roberts.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Milkovic, and through you, Mayor. Mr Paul Kearsley has been appointed the Acting Chief Executive Officer, if this report goes through, from Monday through to Friday this week. And the remuneration for acting arrangements for this week would be set at 80% of the CEO's or the current incumbent's role. And that occurs under Council's higher duties policy and guidelines for staff.
Thank you, Ms Roberts.
Thank you, Ms Roberts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.3.4 Report on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Moved by Councillor Lim, seconded by Councillor Long. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. Item 4.3.5 List of registered correspondence to mayors and councillors. Is there a mover for this item?
I'll move.
Moved by Councillor Long, seconded by Councillor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, I declare this item carried. There are no notices of motion for this meeting. So item 5, move on to the next item. Item number 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillors' questions. Councillor Dark, I might start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my first question this evening, I have had some correspondence which has been passed on to Mr Bosma, I know he's absent at the moment, to do with a dog attack that occurred in Filer Court in Keysborough in my ward. This dog attack was a substantial issue. A lot of residents in the court have raised concerns with me. I've had 3 calls in the last week. A lot of it is to do with the fact that there just hasn't been any, I suppose, correspondence that council is actively dealing with it, whilst not, I understand the privacy obligations to deal with what we can and can't provide, given the dog, I believe, had previously been reported to council as being a menace dog. Allegedly, it escaped the premises ran across the road into this gentleman's front yard where he was gardening and then basically mauled him. The concerns, I know we have spoken to that person's relative, but if we could please see what we can do in terms of a small letterbox shop to the residents of Filo Court, just saying that council is aware and we are dealing with it in accordance with however governance is good in creating some sort of letter in line with legislation.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Mr Jackson?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Dark. Yes, it is a very fine line in terms of how we need to deal with matters that potentially could have legal implications. So I'm happy to take that question on notice and look into it further and advise what we can and cannot provide you with and the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Councillor Dark?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is to do with the Wachter Reserve Boardwalk. This was a contract that this council passed close to 2 years ago. And in the council magazine, I've said that it's completed. Obviously, delays have said that that's not the case. I went down there last week. I noticed that there are 2 portions halfway, and then it basically is just a dead spot. There's no continuation of where the boardwalk is. I'm concerned, given that it's been 2 years to build a boardwalk, and in that time we've had a lot of upgrades at the reserve. Given that we are 26 days away from my 30th birthday, and it was passed when I was 28, if we could potentially get it done before I'm 40, that would be greatly appreciated, and also find out where you're at.
Thanks, Councillor Dark. Mr Chinkarana?
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of our contractors have been struggling with getting materials, particularly if they're coming from overseas, and the qualified tradespeople. But as of today, they now have all the parts they need for the balustrading. I think that's stored on site safely in one of the containers. They are on site. They're obviously being slowed down a bit by the weather, but they are working on it at the moment. They need to get that balustrade set up so it's safe. Then there's the paths to be connected, which will be we're going to start in parallel with that. So yes, I'll definitely have that finished by your 40th birthday.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Dark?
Thank you, Mayor, and that's reassuring news. Just on that item as well, given I suppose the substantial amount of contracts we have in place and tenders in place at any one time for a large capital works program, what do we have in place in terms of our oversight within council's operations over not just say the Wachter Reserve Boardwalk, but all the other tenders that have gone out to make sure that they are tracking along and there aren't any delays? And subsequently to that, if we believe that one may become, or may be in financial strife, or there may be issues, what is the process, I suppose, of how we acutely deal with that? Given the media coverage in the last couple of weeks to do with a lot of the residential builders, I've got some concerns that we may be giving potentially a whole lot of money for somebody who may potentially go under, and we're left with a half-finished project.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Mr Chinkarana?
Thank you, Mayor. When we engage a contract, our payment process is we pay for work done. So we do not pay in advance. So once the contractor has done a month's worth of work, we assess that, value it, and then we pay that value. Now, there might be times where they're claiming more than what we think they've done, so that can be a dispute or a discussion. But we only pay for what's been delivered. We are monitoring all of our contracts very closely. As I said, the ones that have been struggled is the ones that have started before COVID, where they assumed they would have easy access to some of these materials. Going forward, we're confident with the contracts we are letting as of this current period we're in, and we are also looking at other options of whether we let them in parts so that we complete a section and before we move on to the next one. So they're some of the strategies we have in place.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Dark?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. My next question has been the, I suppose, bombardment of correspondence I've had to do with council's grass mowing, cutting strategy, particularly in our reserves and things. I know we are facing a very challenging environment. We have had a lot of rain and we've had a lot of sun coming through as well, which has led to a large amount of growth. I've had a lot of correspondence that I've passed on to Mr Kearsley as well regarding the exceptional amount of growth we have. I just want to find out what we've put in terms of an action plan, how we're getting on top of the backlog of grass growing. It appears to be not only in just the bigger parks, but also the smaller pocket parks where we seem to be having a lot of complaints as well.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Mr Chinkarana?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we are facing particular challenges being spring and the amount of water. I think it's the wettest October on record ever in Victoria. The strategy we're putting in place is we're bringing on additional staff and equipment but which allows us, as soon as it dries out enough for us to get onto these parks and reserves without damaging them, we then hit them as hard as we can. We're using overtime, working weekends, additional hours as part of that, and trying different equipment, lighter hand equipment compared to big tractors. And what we're doing is then prioritising the parks. We're going for our premium ones that have the highest use, or if there's an event on. So, for example, the Dandenong show, we would prioritise that Greaves Reserve for mowing. But as I said, we've got all these extra resources. As soon as we get the dry weather, we hit it as hard as we can and address it that way.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my final question for this evening. When I was in Filer Court talking to a couple of residents on the weekend, I noticed the Bilbunga kindergarten site looking pretty sad. I think it's probably the best way to put it. I suppose in terms of what the future is, I'm aware that the kindergarten's now closed. There was supposed to be, because I did save it in my notes, that there was supposed to be a briefing coming before Christmas. I haven't, obviously there's been delays in departmental, whatever that's at. I just want to find out what the plan is with the Bilbunga Kinder site, what the future is given its location and the asset that's there.
Thanks, Councillor Dark. Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor. The Bilbunga Kinder facility asset has been retained pending a deeper understanding of what our infrastructure requirements are going to be with the state government's rollout of pre-prep or the additional hours of 4-year-old kinder. So what we certainly don't want to do is dispose of any assets on the off chance that we might need to bring that back online. In the interim, that facility is being used for groups like supported playgroups and community playgroups. They don't occur obviously every day, and we also have it available and potentially available for things like immunisation sessions and maternal child health new parents groups. But those things don't happen every day. If there are specific things around the building surrounds, like landscaping or long grass, we can certainly look into that. And the building should be subject to the same asset renewal kind of procedures that it had whilst it was in operation. So we can also look at that if specific things are looking tired. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a supplementary on that. Given the asset was, I suppose, planned to be disposed of, given the new kindergarten being built at Kimura Road and the non-compliance of the old Bilbunga Kinder site to do with, I know there was conversation that it wasn't compliant for the requirements under the Child Safety Act or whatever the legislation was that guards that. Have we had any approximate cost modelling, if we did have to require and bring it back online, what the cost would be to get it to a 4-year-old kinder scratch in terms of walls, those sort of things?
Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The kinder was fully compliant when in operation, as per the state government's early childhood guidelines, actually federal government. So we haven't yet done any costings of what it would take to make it compliant. That would probably be minimal. I think it would be more about upgrading the building to a new standard as far as buildings go. But its limitation is that it's a single unit kinder. So the choice to move to Kimura Road was because we could build a kinder on a school site that was actually a double unit kinder and provide double the amount of places in the one facility.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to start off by saying Mr Kearsley couldn't have picked a better week to escape that department to this department, because the onslaught of questions is just relentless tonight, and I'll have to continue, I'm sorry. Relevant officer, could we get an update, please, on a potential finishing date or progress date on the toilets on Brady Road? I understand they were supposed to be finished by end of October. We know in November. The slab was laid around the 27th or 29th of September, and it's just been sitting like that ever since. And the residents are just questioning why is the work at a standstill. This is not affected by the grass around. It's on a concrete base. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Chinkarana.
Yes. What you described is correct. We've got the slab is down. The construction of the toilet is still occurring, but that's happening off-site, and the materials will be bought and assembled when it is complete. They have struggled with skilled tradespeople as well to complete that on time. I don't have any a completion date with me at the moment, but I'll follow that up and include that in the monthly report for Council.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Supplementary to Councillor Dark's question regarding the mowing and grass overgrown, is it possible to maybe get a schedule, just a rough schedule as to which parks would take priority and when the ones in our particular wards would sort of come online, just roughly, within like maybe a day, a week or something? That way we can maybe just reassure the residents that it is on the radar and it is happening, but, you know, it might be next Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever.
Thanks, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Kearsley.
Yeah, look, in my current role as well, I have asked the team to prepare a schedule, and I think Mr Chinkarana has spoken about other measures that we're looking at. I'd be hoping to provide a briefing of council in the coming weeks, where we'd be hoping to be able to schedule identification of the parks that are going to be undertaken in a 2 and a 4 week batch, so that the councillors are aware of this, and we'll also then be working with Ms Sprague's area in order that we can put that information also up on the website. So we are working on that at the moment, and as I said, I hope to be able to bring that back to council in the next couple of weeks to inform you about what the next steps are.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mr Kearsley. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, that'll be fantastic. I'm sure the residents will be very happy, just at least to get a brief idea or rough idea as to where it's going to happen. I know it's very challenging out there. Some parks are still pretty wet, depending on how low lying they're. So yeah, that's fine. Next question. Sorry about all the questions tonight. Is there any update on the progress of the PEP building and continuation of the construction work that we sort of ran into a little bit of trouble with, I think, last financial year and was put to a halt? Is that going to continue, and when and how?
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Chinkarana.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, there's two parts to that site. The PEP building is currently subject to a grant, and there's been a development process working through with staff and architects to come up with the ultimate development of that. With the art gallery at the front of that, we've been in negotiations with the contractor with a view to seeing what we can do to move that along ourselves, but I've yet to be able to bring a resolution of that contract dispute to council.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Just supplementary to that, is that the same contract that we've used before that we ran into issues with, or is that a different contract that we're now engaging in regards to, I'm talking not PEP, the front of the Masonic whole thing. Thanks.
Mr Chinkarana.
No, Mayor, we haven't used that contractor before in this municipality.
Okay, thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I've read in one of the emails, and I actually received one of the emails. I'd like to ask a relevant officer, has anything been done, or has anyone contacted the resident in Springvale regarding the complaint in regards to a big screen apparently on a municipal building that's shining into their bedroom windows, lounge room windows, blaring music all nights and times of day, apparently disturbing their lifestyle? Has anything been done? Has anyone contacted the resident?
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your question. Yes, we are aware of the concerned resident around the urban screen at the Springvale Hub. That resident has been communicated with to let them know that we are investigating some of the questions that they asked. In their email, they had a number of questions that they would like asked, so it's going to take a little bit of time for us to put that information together. And we have let that resident know that we intend to reply to them in the coming days.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. On the topic of lighting, is there any update on the potential improvement or installation of the additional street lighting on Carlton Road, where the shops are, that we investigated with the lux meters, I think about a year ago or 6 months ago? There was determined that it was not enough lighting in the street, but there was an issue because there was nowhere to put a pole. I haven't heard anything regarding that ever since I think the investigation was conducted by a company. It was said it's going to get done eventually, but it's just gone like quiet, and residents are saying, could we please get an update on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Chinkarana.
Yes, Mayor, I'll take that on notice. I'll have to follow up the progress on that and get back to council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, the residents are interested to find out about another boardwalk, this one in Te Hatcham Park, that was removed some time ago. Should have been, I think, replaced, but due to the lack of materials and skilled tradies and COVID and so on and so forth, it's been going on for quite a while now. Is there any update on that? The summer's coming, and once they can get through the grass, once it's cut, they'd like to go on the boardwalk down.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr Chinkarana.
Yes, Mayor, I'll take that one on notice as well and provide an update.
Thank you. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I do apologise for all the questions. Residents are quite interested to find out what is happening in the municipality. Could I also get an update from relevant director or officer regarding the finish of the work and fixing of the roads and line markings on Brady and Gladstone Road? That's been going on for quite a while now. I know that weather was an issue, then we had like a few weeks of sunshine, so I guess the paint could have dried, but still it's sort of half done, half finished. So.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Mr Chinkarana.
Yes, Mayor, I'll take that one on notice as well and provide an update.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Milkovich.
It's a lucky day, Mr Kearsley. It's a lucky day. Another quick question regarding Rosswood Playgroup down in Hatcham Park. I understand they've quit the premises, they're not there anymore. What is the plan, or what's the council's plan regarding the facilities before they fall into disrepair, get invaded by squatters or unsavoury kids graffitiing the surrounding homes? Is there any plan regarding that? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question. Similar to the early discussion around the Bilbunga Kinder, we're mindful of retaining that asset, which I also understand is on Crown land, in order to, I suppose, maximise our possibilities when it comes to consideration of the rollout of 4-year-old Kinder or pre-PEP in the coming years. So for the time being, similar to Bilbunga Kinder, that building is being used for activities like new parents groups and supported playgroups in the absence of the Rosswood Playgroup that once was part of that facility.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. So it actually has been used at the moment, is it? I've never seen it. I drive past quite frequently and go for a walk. I've never seen anyone. That's why I was curious to find out if and when it's been put to use. Just no one there.
The playgroups and the programs that are in there are inconsistent, so they're not there every day. And I wouldn't be pretending that they are there every day at the moment. These things take time to build up, and it won't be used as consistently as what it was in the time being, that's for sure.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mr Foster. Thank you, Mayor. And finally, a bit of information for those who don't know, don't live close by. Rosewood Downs Kinder, which has been built currently on the site of Rosewood Downs Primary School, is well underway. I think we were a little bit, or the government was a little bit behind schedule to begin with, but the work is progressing at a rapid pace. And I think Mr Foster informed me that we should be ready for new kiddies next year in spring, summer, whatever. So fabulous news for residents, and those of residents who don't know what is happening there, there's a brand new kinder being built, and if you've got little ones that you need to enrol that live close by, that is a perfect opportunity to contact our department. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, firstly, I've got a few questions tonight. So firstly, much more, this is about we just need to educate our residents and councillors. So this is our second year already that we've been in our rollover from multi-member boards to a single board. So there's a lot of residents out there that they don't know which board they belong to, same as our councillor. So through you, Mayor, could we just need to find out through the relevant officer, could we do anything to educate our residents, or maybe when we set out a council rate wheel for invoice, can we add in additional to their address, put in their ward boundaries, so the name of their ward. They can also search it on our website, because at the moment there's no function for residents to actually find out which ward they belong to. It's really hard for people to communicate with the residents, like they don't know which ward they belong to.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Ms Bragg.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Tan, I'll answer part of that question. That function is available on our website for people to search which ward they're in. They can also call customer service if they want to find that out. On a regular basis, we publish the ward map in the Council News publication, just to make people aware and more aware of exactly what ward they're in. Apart from that, the ward map is on our website. I can't speak specifically to the rate notice, but maybe we could take that on notice and investigate that option further.
Thank you, Ms Sprague. Councillor Tan?
Yeah, so if you can also add in the name of the board on when you send out the council rate bills, that would be helpful as well. So for example, like with my, with Noble Park, it's not like all residents in Noble Park live in Noble Park, belong to Noble Park board. So make it hard for residents to, to ignore, like if they have any issues, they just speak to their councillor, just confident to find out who their ward councillor is. So we're very helpful if you can include like a ward name on the actual council rate bill.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Tan. So, Ms Sprague, would you like to just briefly respond? Yeah, thank you.
Just confirming through you, Madam Mayor, that, we will investigate that option. I'm sure it's something that we would be able to do in future, so we'll investigate further and come back to councillors and confirm.
Thank you, Ms Sprague. Councillor Tan?
Thank you. My second question just regarding to the hard waste collection. I know we're into our spring cleaning at the moment, so there's a lot of hard waste collection. So, residents have options to call council or book through the hard waste collection website. I do have some difficult experience about that as well, because the hard waste collection team, they only work during business hours, so Monday to Friday. So through you, Mayor, just regarding to the process. So if the hard waste didn't get collected and they can't rebook it through the hard waste system, what is the next process?
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Mr Chinkarana?
So, Ms. Mayor, just to understand the question, so it's if it's booked, but then the collection is missed.
If the waste hard waste is being booked, right, and then it will get collected, so the resident try to rebook it again, but you can't rebook it again because on the system says that the resident already booked it once. So you only can book it once every the end of financial year. But technically, the actual hard waste collection didn't get collected. So what would be the next process?
Yes, so Mayor, just be a call to customer service. If there's been a genuine mistake and it's been missed, of course we would automatically go and collect that at the next available opportunity.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Tan?
Okay, because for some reason they try to call the waste collection team, but then they're saying they have to contact the council, so City of Great Council, to get approval. So I'm trying to find out the process on that. So would anyone know about this process?
Councillor Tan, it sounds like the resident can contact council to let them know that the hard waste rubbish wasn't collected, and that will then be followed up. That's my understanding from Mr Chinkarana's response.
But then who's it going to book it through? Is it through council or hard waste again? So we don't know the process at the moment.
Mr Chinkarana, would you like to respond?
Yes, Mayor. So in the example where it's been missed by a contractor, for example, and it's just been an error, then a simple call to council will resolve that. I can understand that a contractor would have difficult dealing with any issues about why it was missed, but it would be just through our customer service number would be the best solution there.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Tan?
Okay, thank you. I'll send through some information to the relevant officer. Third question, through you, Mayor, so through the relevant officer, could you please give an update on the Noble Park Library Lounge consultation? So we've done the community consultations completed through the end of April. So what's the update on that project at the moment?
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An update is I think the feasibility study has been completed. I'm not sure whether that's actually been presented to council as yet, but I'm aware that the feasibility study into the Noble Park Library Lounge has been completed and is currently being reviewed, prepared to come to EMT, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Tan.
Okay, so last question just regarding, there's a complaint about the Noble Park stations. It's about the cleaning issue. So through you, Mayor, to the relevant officer, so part of the Noel Park station, is that under the City of Great Bennett Council to clean the station, regarding to the ground floor, also like the public toilet area as well? So is that part of our council contract? And how often do they get their contractors to clean the area?
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Mr Chinkarana.
Thank you, Mayor. The direct cleaning of the station and the railway land wouldn't be our responsibility, but there might be some boundary areas. So if I get more information about the exact location, I'm happy to look more closely and find out whether it's closer to the shopping centre than the station, but we wouldn't be cleaning the actual station itself.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Tan.
Yeah, I'll send through some information. Yeah, it's great. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Councillor Lim.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to give you a quick report on my the last fortnight or 3 weeks. On Tuesday, the 25th of October, I attend Springvale Benevolent Society 60th anniversary celebration, hosted by our former mayor. Yeah, very good one. And on Friday, the 28th October as well, I attend the grand opening of Springvale Boulevard, hosted by our former mayor as well, plus Councillor Lloyd Trung, Sean O'Reilly, and so many, there's 2 MP as well, and plus our council officer. On Wednesday, the 2nd of November, I attend Southeast Monash Legal Services, AGM, through Zoom meeting. On Friday, the 4th of November, I attended the Evening with Victoria Hazaras community. On Saturday, the 5th of November, I had a meeting with committee member of my Cambodia Vision, just to discuss about our future of our charity, and especially want to ask more people or recruit more people to help my organization to go to Cambodia in the near future. And also on that day, on the 13th of November, I sort of attend, the 8th of November, actually on Tuesday, I had a meeting with Mrs. Alina Sheldon to discuss about how to revitalize Springvale, because she's been in Springvale for quite some time as a CEO or manager, whatever. And she provided me a lot of book of this one as well. If anyone want a copy, I can provide one. 70 years, Springvale, 70 years. Yeah, doing it right. Yeah, that's a good one. And Professor from Tasmania, they prefer a few copies that we're going to bring to him tomorrow night at his exhibition in Lygon Street. And on the 8th of November, that day sort of we had a very good discussion, and we tried to find out how to work, on revitalization in France by using community development approach to engaging with local businesses. That's another idea that she gave me. It's a long list that she's going to send me, to have a look as well, what I think about her idea. On Wednesday, the 9th of November, I attended Springvale Learning Activity Center AGM by acting as a chairperson to elect the new committee members. And in that night, very interesting, we have a guest speaker that no one aware of except myself actually about one of the organization we call Khmer Krom Association. Everyone have no idea, but very well presented and very exciting, because we didn't know that it's about 22 provinces to 24 provinces belong to Cambodia, now part of Vietnam. And on Friday, the 11th of November, I attend Remembrance Day at Harmony Square with former Mayor Jim Ameti. On Saturday morning, I meet with my Cambodia Vision from Sydney, a team that came to help me to organize the fundraising on the 13th of, yesterday on the 13th of November. And lunchtime, I went to St. James Anglican Church with Mayor Eden Foster and also Angela Long, our councillor, to do what we call tree planting ceremony at St. James Anglican Church in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. And by afternoon, we went again, Councillor Angela Long and the Mayor and myself went to Dandenong Show 150 years celebration. That's a good one. And with Honourable Gabriel William. And on that night, I had another meeting again, just the whole point is just want to recruit more staff and want to plan how to ship all the equipment to Cambodia on the 3rd of December. And my point, I just like to announce now, actually any councillor or any council officer or executive officer, whatever, if anyone want to join our charity, very important because we're short of staff at the moment. We need over 100, but we only have 60 something. It doesn't matter, it has to be medical profession or nurses or pharmacists, ophthalmologists, whatever. Anyone can join us. We can have a lot of job to do because we only use our team from Australia, only no one else from other part of the world or from Cambodia at all, actually mainly from Australia, or probably some part of the world like France and Germany or Hong Kong in the past, yeah. And also on Sunday, yesterday, I thank to Mayor Ian Foster and Councillor Deputy Mayor Lana Formoso that came to our charity lunch. It's an honor, actually. It's just my last minute invitation, actually, because I didn't want to have many speakers on that day. We just to make it short because we had to go to Merle Mitchell, memorial Tower event. Yeah, that's a good one, and just great an honor for our people as well to introduce both of you, and very exciting and very positive about Mayor and Deputy Mayor are all female. And I joked to them, saying that normally female do a better job than male. And I said in Cambodian, but people understand, I said normally female live longer than male anyway. Just not statistically, that happened to me not long ago. So just a joke, sorry. Sorry, all the men don't take any offense. That's a good one. Actually, they love to take photo with both of you so much. That's a good one. And we raised a lot of money too. On that day, we raised over $20,000. We haven't counted the team yet. And my pharmacy, the last couple of months, we raised over 10,000. Plus myself, another 10,000 to over 20,000, altogether more than 40,000. We haven't taken into account from the lockdown 2019 up to now too. Therefore, my point is just want to encourage everyone to come to join us. Very rewarding because 100% volunteer. And afternoon we attend what we call that's right, Merle Mitchell, memorial event, on that night. On that memorial event, that's right. It's just a good one as well. Catch up with her children. Look exactly the same, like a young version of Merle and Eric. That's a good one. And to me, I just would like to thank you to Mr. Paul Keasley and Mr. Greg Jing Kui Grana for keep me up to date about the ramp of multi-level car park. He's keep me informed all the time, and also myself, I inspect every day as well. Thank you so much for that. And just follow up on the 28th October, I sent the email that people complain to me so often about Windsor Avenue, opposite Windsor Pharmacy, about all these pallets and all the green grocer, that green grocer put so much vegetable and fruit, cover almost 2/3 of the food path. It just very frequently, and I asked the customer to email to the right department, and myself too, I emailed on 20 October, and still have some complaint, like the one of the well-known people from Singapore Benevolent Society complained to me a couple of days ago again, why it still happen like that? It can cause accident. If something happened to the pedestrian, who responsible for that? I said, of course, the council. But I said, how are we going to handle this sort of problem? He said, still there. I said, oh, well, definitely going to ask the relevant officer to send someone again to put pressure on them, or otherwise just find the business owner. That's probably my follow-up question only.
Okay. Councillor Lim, would you like me to give Mr Jackson an opportunity to perhaps respond to that question and that comment?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Lim. Yes, it is something that we're aware of, and I'll follow up with the team again tomorrow to see what the current status is, and if we need to attend the site again, we'll arrange for that to happen as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Councillor Lim.
No one just want to find out about the signage in Springwell again, just follow up again, because the signage is very important in Springwell. People still don't know where the car park exactly multi-level, because I keep informing them the multi-level car park that I'm going to finish by the end of this month, likely going to be this month, very easy to access to the top and come back down as well. But just the signage probably very hard for them to aware of where the car park are. And secondly, in the toilet as well, the signage of the toilet I've been asking for since the beginning of my term. That's very important as well. The toilet is a lot of issue that I can talk privately with a relevant officer. It's make a lot of mess in Springwell now. And I can't say at the meeting at the moment for regarding the toilet. And secondly, a lot of people come recently. One of the high profile from Cambodia. He could not find the toilet. He said, I don't know where the toilet is. And he comes straight to my shop, can I use your toilet? And so many people come to use my toilet very frequently. But by rule, pharmacy board not allow anyone to get into pharmacy whatsoever, because there is a boundary, because professional secretary behind that not allow anyone to come in, but I have no choice. But if we can have a signage, very good for them to know exactly where our public toilet. Whereas the good news is the new toilet that just finished at Springwell Shopping Centre, very brand new and very good. And anyone complain about toilet, say please go to Springwell Shopping Centre. Beautiful, very modern toilet, amazing toilet. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Mr Chinkarana.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we do have plans to enhance the toilet signage to draw more attention to it. There are a number of signs around, but they're small. We're really waiting just until the boulevard works were complete, so we could then get in and enhance that signage. So that will be coming.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor
Thank
Lim.
you. Thanks, Mayor. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Lim. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Formoso.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to have to get used to hearing that. Thank you, and congratulations again for your mayoral election. I attended the SEL Board Strategy Day on November the 4th at the Dandenong Basketball Stadium. Extremely effective day, a lot of things that we talked about. It was great as a grassroots member of the community to give my input in terms of what will benefit South East Leisure as a whole, and hearing what everyone had to say on the day was absolutely fantastic. So it was a really, really productive day. And also very happy to announce that SEL has picked up its very first award from the Monash Health Promotion Awards 2022. It was for the healthy eating category for recreation facilities. So this just shows how proactive SEL is being in building relationships with Monash Health and highlighting the impact SEL is already starting to have on our health in our community. So congratulations to them. One of many, many awards to come, I'm sure. So very, very happy to hear that. On Friday, the 11th of November, I was fortunate enough to be a part of a great celebration, something I'm very passionate about, which was the Learners Permit Driving Program. And this assists new arrivals with limited literacy in English from Afghanistan in their settlement process to get their learners. So we had over 100 participants that graduated, most of them were women. A fantastic program which is collaborated with the Foundation House, United Cultural Support Incorporation, Southern Migrant Refugee Centre and SECL. And we also had the honour of having Dr Tien Kiew, MP, show up, which was a really nice surprise, and lovely to have him at such an incredible event. Yesterday, had the privilege of attending the Cambodia Vision lunch with the Mayor. It was fantastic. We were well fed, well looked after. Thank you very much. Incredible work that charity is doing. So we look forward to participating in many of those events in the future. Thank you very much for all the work that you do. It's fantastic. And also, obviously, attended the Mel Mitchell AM Living Treasure Memorial event goes without saying, an absolute trailblazer in our community, and it was just such an honour to be a part of that event yesterday, and we were so lucky to have her in our community and everything that she's achieved. So very, very happy to have attended that. And I was going to ask a question, but it's actually escaped me, so lucky for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Formoso. Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since the last formal meeting, I attended the Greater Dandenong Combined School Interfaith Gathering, where there was about 400 children come to the interfaith, whole interfaith communities there, and it's a great day to spend with children and explain to them what our interfaith community does. I also attended the Emergency Relief Centre exercise at the Jan Wilson Centre, where council participated with other ambulances and police and other emergency services. So if there is an emergency, we're well trained up and ready to go. Also attended the groundbreaking ceremony at 27 Scott Street, Dandenong. This is a new development that started quite a while ago. Actually, they broke ground about a few years ago, but stopped. It's 107 apartments and 6 shops on Scott Street. So that will be actually the first development in central Dandenong where people will actually live in apartments. So I'm looking forward for that to go up, and hopefully in 2024 that'll be completed. I also attended the Greater Dandenong Annual Children's Forum. The children make a lot of sense when you start to listen to them, and they're really important, and I can say that our future is very bright after listening to them. Also had the a on-site meeting with Meng Hing Tak, MP, regarding the Alex Nelson Reserve Wetlands Project, where also we had councillors as well available there as well to, if Labor was to win the election, they'll have a $220,000 grant for the Alex Nelson Reserve. So that was their commitment, and we're looking forward for that to come a reality. I also was the guest speaker at the South Migrant and Refugee Centre, which does fantastic work, and I just spoke about my migrant journey to this country and how my parents came to here in Australia as migrants, and how I grew up going to primary school and didn't know how to speak any English. So, and I just explained to them how fortunate they are today. There is so much and so many services in Greater Dandenong for new migrants as well. Fantastic to finally open up the Springvale Boulevard, stage 1 and 2, I think it was $5 million from council and $900,000 from the state government. That does look a lot better than what it did look, and I look forward to stage 3 coming on in the next couple of years. I also attended the AIII 21st Diwali Fair Festival of Lights celebration with you, Madam Mayor. It was a great evening. The AIII always have fantastic events, and even though they're smaller than the events that they used to have, but coming out of COVID, lots of festivals are a lot smaller than what they used to be, and I'm looking forward to them gaining momentum and getting bigger. I also went to the St Kilda Football Club, signed an MOU with the CEO, Matt Finnis. Back in the day, I'm not sure if people know that Parkmore Football Club had 53 junior teams. That's just one club. I don't think we've got anywhere near that at the moment in the whole of the city of Greater Dandenong. So we need to make sure that we align with St Kilda and they can come out and their players can come to schools and have programs where the kids in this area can actually see AFL players, and they can actually have training drills and things like that. So it's good to be part of the St Kilda Football Club. Also, we hosted a community meeting. We had the Minister, Andrew Giles, here in this very room with Julian Hill, and we had about 200 Afghan people from Afghanistan, Australian Afghans in this room. They were very concerned about their visas and how they've been left in limbo for the last 10 years. So, and Labor did promise that the people who are on temporary protection visas will actually be having permanent humanitarian visas. So it's a process. The Minister spoke about how that is going to happen, and it takes, they need to employ a lot more people. They're really, really understaffed, and there's probably about 1 million visa applications on their desk, and they're getting through them slowly, but they needed to put more money in the budget to employ more people, train these people, So this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of time. I also attended the City of Greater Dandenong Remembrance Day service, which was a very pleasant service right here in Harmony Square. And later on, I also attended the Sister Works graduation ceremony. These are women from different cultural backgrounds who actually did a course and graduated, and it was such lovely to be in their presence to actually help out with the ceremony to hand out the certificates. Just questions. Update on the Dandenong show. Do we have any update? It was great to see that the weekend passed. We celebrated 150th anniversary to hold the Dandenong show, and as a major sponsor, I just wanted to know if there's any update. The weather was great, so I hope that the people did come through the doors. Can we have an update, please?
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have yet to receive an update on from the Show Society, but we could certainly look into that and respond to you, Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you, Mr Forster. I can add that I attended, and there were quite a number of people there. It was well attended in that moment that I was there on the Saturday. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I look forward to that update because the Pastoral Agricultural Society do a fantastic job, and I know that the people that are involved in that community have been doing it for decades, and many, many decades, I should say. I've had an approach from a resident in Williams Avenue, in approximately where 22 Williams Avenue is. It's very, very dark in that vicinity of that street. Can we have a look at installing a light and what's the process of that?
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Mr Chinkarana.
Yes, Mayor, we can have our engineers assess that location and just see whether it meets standards and what's needed there.
Okay, thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you for that. Also, Madam Mayor, through you, corner Bryant's Road and Kirkham Road, Dandenong, there's this huge roundabout. And I've raised this before. The resident actually had a meeting on site with him the other day. You can actually see the footpath, not on the footpath, the nature strip, BWs, you can see their tyre tracks on the nature strip. This is dangerous because also next to where the tyre marks are, there's a power pole. This roundabout is like twice the size of normal roundabouts, and there's no room for actually a car to go basically get through. But these BWs have got no chance. Bryant's Road, for anybody that doesn't know where Bryant's Road is, one side is residential, one side's industrial. We really need to have a good look at this. And I did say to the resident that I'm happy to come down again with an engineer. Is that possible?
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Mr Chinkarana.
Yes, certainly, Mayor. We're more than happy to have our traffic engineers have a look at that location and see what recommendations we can come up with.
Thank you, Mr Chinkarana. Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you for that, because I think it's well overdue, and the poor old man that lives on the corner has been complaining for many, many years, but after seeing those, the nature strip with those BW wheels on top of it, it's a no-no, as we actually find people who go on top of our curb and channels, so I think this is well overdue. I've got grass here. I'm not going to say anything on grass. Other councillors have actually mentioned it. I know council's doing a fantastic job. It's not only our council, it's the councils right across Victoria. We've had unprecedented rain during October, and I know our mowers are doing a great job, so please pass on our thanks to them. I know they're under pressure. They're going to have to do more than what they normally do to catch up, and all I've been saying to our residents is be patient and we'll get around to it. Also, another thing that this weather has brought on us is potholes. I normally send an email through, but while I'm standing here, there's a pothole on the corner of Clough Street and Stud Road, and I was meant to put it through before I came here. So if you can take that one, the pothole on the corner of Clough and Stud Road. Also, another thing that residents have been complaining, Madam Mayor, is on the corner of Clough and Lonsdale Street. Unfortunately, we're seeing beggars, knocking on windows and asking people for money. There used to be one on the corner there. Now there could be two or three at any one time. What can council do through our local laws? I know these people are desperate, but a lot of people who drive through that intersection multiple times a day are just saying, they don't mind handing out and donating a little bit of money, but it's becoming very frequent on each side of the corner of Clough and Lonsdale Street.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Mr Jackson?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Mehmeti. I know our officers are continuing to work closely with VicPol to address some of these issues, and I'll have a further discussion tomorrow and see what else can be done in that space. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you for that, Mr Jackson. You know, people normally say to us that, you know, we don't really consult with the community, but, you know, regarding the Dandenong Community Hub, you know, I was there at the market on the weekend. We had 3 options of the hub, and there was 3 ladies there asking people which option would they prefer. They were answering questions. So I think they're doing a fantastic job, and I'd like to pass on that through you, Madam Mayor, to the Director to say well done. This is what it's all about: consultation, getting out there in the markets, and even somebody told me they're even on the streets. So this is fantastic. When do we close? I know people have got to actually come back to council, and you can do it in multiple ways, which the Director can explain. We've got 3 options, so whoever's listening, to this, what I'm saying now, is you actually got to vote, and councillors will take note of option 1, 2 or 3, which the community chooses. So if you haven't had an opportunity to vote, I urge you to vote as soon as possible. And in what means can they vote? Through you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Mr Forster.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the question, and thank you for the comments around the consultation. There are a number of different ways to vote. The primary way is online, where you can go to our website and vote on the variation that you prefer. We also have a stand set up in Council's foyer where you can drop your voting forms by hand into a box that will be counted and collated and included. And people also have a phone number they can call up if they want to talk through the different variations. And in addition to that, we have a number of pop-up events like the one that you witnessed at the market taking place over the coming couple of weeks in Palm Plaza to capture the thoughts of people on the street who might be interested in the project. All of that is due to take place through until the end of November, so November 30th, at which time we will compile all the information that we've gotten through this consultation period into a report and return to Council and present that information in advance of Council's consideration of which variation they would like to progress to detailed design. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Forster. Councillor Mehmeti.
Thank you for that, Mr Forster. And people watching at home, please make sure you vote, because I had about 400 people sign a petition last time, so make sure you do vote. I acknowledge when we do things good. Unfortunately, at George Andrews Reserve, we actually demolished the kitchen, and now we're at a standhold. I asked them, why is there no workers? They're saying we're waiting for a building permit. Why would we own the premises, we demolish the kitchen, and now we're waiting on our very own building permit? When will this building permit be ready?
Thank you, Councillor Mehmeti. Mr Jackson.
Through you, Mayor, I'll need to confirm the exact details of that tomorrow and come back to you then, Mr Mehmeti. Councillor
Thank you, Mr Jackson. Councillor Mehmeti.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Long.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. These are some of the events that I've attended since my last formal meeting. On the 25th of October, I attended Seven's Open Forum breakfast. Later that morning, I attended the Dandenong Market Board meeting. That night, I attended an online AGM meeting of the Dandenong Day Nursery, where I was elected president again. I have been their president for about the last 17 years. No one else seems to want the job. On the 26th of October, I attended the AGM of the Dandenong Historical Society. 27th of October, I officially opened the Vital Hearing and Balance Clinic at Shalimar House. 28th of October, I attended the ribbon-cutting opening of the Springvale Boulevard. 29th of October, I helped man the Road Safe Southeast Driver Reviver caravan just the other side of Cranbourne. The The caravan was donated by Jerry Ryan from Jayco in 2020, and it was the first time that we were able to bring it out because of COVID-19. The 2nd of November, I attended the launch of the Echo Call project at Emerson School. That night I attended a community support grant panel meeting at Dandenong. 3rd of November, I attended another community support grant panel meeting at Dandenong. 9th of November, I attended the online community safety meeting. 11th of November, I attended the Remembrance Day service at Dandenong. That afternoon, I attended the Aboriginal Community Forum at Dandenong, and then on to the Dandenong West Primary School Community Festival. 12th of October, I attended a tree planting at St James Church at Dandenong, and then I attended the official opening of the 150th Dandenong Show. 13th of November, I attended the Merle Mitchell AM Memorial at Springvale. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Councillor Riley.
Thanks, Mayor. No report, nothing to add to what's been said.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Trung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attend the Alex Wicky's Reserve with the former mayor and with the member of, state member of Clarenda Tak Min Heng, and he promised that with their promise if the Labor win again, they will operate the reserve. I attend Swinvale Boulevard opening with the former mayor and also Councillor Richard Lim, Councillor Sean O'Reilly, and also former Councillor Johan Chia. And on last Saturdays, I attended fundraising for Vietnamese Community Association in Swinvale Town Hall for Tet Festival. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trong. On Sunday, 30th of October, I also attended the AIII 21st Diwali Fair with the former mayor. Wednesday, 2nd of November, I attended the Emerson School Project launch Echo Call with Councillor Long. It was a fantastic opportunity to see some of the works that the students at Emerson School are doing with the artist in resident at the moment. So they're very talented students there. And that evening, I also attended the citizenship ceremony where about 130 new Australians were given their citizenship. On Friday the 11th of November, I attended the Noble Park RSL Remembrance Day service. I also attended the Aboriginal Community Forum, Building Safer, Brighter Futures for Our Community. I attended that with Councillor Long, as well as the Dandenong West Community Festival, another fantastic event with little kids that love to be entertained, and that was quite a loud and energetic festival. On Saturday, the 12th of November, I attended the St James Anglican Church tree planting ceremony in recognition of our late Queen Elizabeth II's Jubilee, and I attended that with Councillor Long and Councillor Lim. I also attended that same day the official opening of the 150th Dandenong Show, as was mentioned before, again with Councillor Long and Councillor Lim. It was a fantastic opportunity to see the Dandenong Show come alive again after 2 years of not being able to run, and it's, again, fantastic to see the kids enjoy themselves and the big kids as well. That evening, I attended the Diwali and Bal Diwas Children's Day celebration hosted by the Hindi Shiksha Sangh. Again, it was a day filled with children. This was an opportunity for the children of this particular language school to demonstrate what they've learned in terms of the language, but also the culture. And it's really important and that families do encourage their children to attend language schools so that they don't lose their culture. It's really important for them to be able to communicate with their relatives overseas that may not be able to speak English. So I encourage young children who might be reluctant to go to language school and learn about their culture and their history and their language. It is vital that that does not die. And on Sunday, the 13th of November, I attended the Cambodia Vision fundraising event. I was specifically invited by Councillor Lim to attend, and I was accompanied by Deputy Mayor Formoso as well. A fantastic charity that raises money for vulnerable people in Cambodia who have visual impairment. Not just visual impairment though, they work with those that are hearing impaired and also have other medical conditions. So if you can hop on the website and consider donating if you can afford it, that would be very much appreciated by those in Cambodia that are less fortunate than us. And that afternoon I attended the memorial event for Merle Mitchell AM and the naming of the Mitchell Hall in Springvale Community Hub. A very moving event to again hear about Merle's contribution to our community. She is a trailblazer, as the Deputy Mayor did note, and a role model to many women in leadership in our community. So it was a fantastic event to attend. Mr. Keasley, are there any questions for table?
Thank you, Mayor. We had a number of questions taken on notice at the last council meeting from Councillor Dart, Councillor Milkovich and Councillor Garrett, and they're tabled tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Keasley. There's no urgent business. I declare the meeting closed at 8:36 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and good night.